Can I have one? Can I have a bell?
Hi there. Just invite you to take a breath with us. Just an inspired moment to spend a Sunday moment with you. And that's interesting. Somebody just showed up as a little ball on my screen. I don't know what that is. It was like this game.
Do you know who that is? It's Carrie.
It's who?
It's Jin.
It's Jin.
It's Jin. And who do we have here? I can't see. Hi, guys. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining us, sweet soul.
As you know, we do our Monday 11:11 broadcast, but sometimes I've been doing these reading with one love and gratitude, and I just felt called to bring my beloved in this little reading time, because it's a book that we've been reading together that we'd love to share with you.
Powerful. You want to share a little, you probably have shared, but just share a little bit about who Kumala is to us and the journey that we've been on with her.
Mm-hmm. So it's a book it's called Heart Initiations, and it's written by Kumala Everett with the Diamond Light Foundation out of Maui. And it is about conscious ascension, and it's about how we can consciously ascend. And it's been very helpful and awesome and good and resonant and all yumminess of all that is that. And so it just feels good to share with you all. So thank you for being with us now, or being with us in your now when you choose to be here. Hope your Easter was awesome, or your Passover. Getting ready for whatever you're getting ready for. So, without much ado, much chatter, we're just going to get right into it. So, invite you to, if you're going to be with us, just hear with your heart and listen with your heart to this information. And this is called Conscious Union. And we'll just go back and forth, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it says, the fiery desire for union is reaching a climax in the heart of all those who are driven by the soul's remembrance of oneness. After beloved Mother Mary and Lord Shiva had stripped me of all my layers of identity, I felt extremely good, but extremely empty. The next day I was to give about a 2-hour workshop at a conference retreat in Mount Shasta. I was so empty inside that I didn't really feel I could facilitate the gathering. And at the final hour, however, I was filled with more than enough love and light to guide the creative visualizations and to give the workshop. The next evening, I joined the group for a beautiful musical concert, and a woman named Kathy Zaveda was singing songs centered around the Divine Mother. At some point in her singing, I went into what I can only call ecstasy. I felt the Holy Spirit coming into my body, and I began crying and wanting to get up and hug people. Interestingly, however, I didn't seem to want to just hug anybody. I found myself looking for people who could really receive the love energy that was coming through me. And for the first time in my life, I knew that I was really feeling the Kundalini not only rising, but also descending. A great shaft of energy felt like it was going up and out of the top of my head, and then it seemed to turn around and come back down through the entire trunk of my body. I was literally experiencing sexual union within my body's own polarities.
At some point, I knew that if two people were actively running these ascending and descending energies simultaneously, then they would both be able to experience the kind of cosmic union that people have only dreamed of finding during sexual intercourse. We don't really need each other for raising the Kundalini, but how fantastic it would be to share in these exquisite internal unions. When all of this was running through my mind and body, I also kept feeling like I was in the Himalayas and that the masters were watching over me. They seemed to be monitoring my progress while telling me that these kinds of experiences would happen more often if I could only bring my spirit more fully into my body. In the hours that followed the concert, I continued to allow myself to feel totally consumed by love. This whole experience seemed to be blatantly revealing to me my very deepest desire, to feel this much love and this much of God's life force or spirit inside of my physical body. Now the question became, what have I really learned from this experience, and how can I sustain or recreate these feelings on my own? I seem to be living in a state of grace, and one that I might not be able to duplicate. I had definitely been shown what it feels like to embody the most powerful love that I've ever felt. And I knew that all of it was a gift from the Divine Mother.
I remained in ongoing gratitude for the living lessons that the Masters continued to give me. The ascension process now seems to involve my great desire to descend more fully than ever into the body. The Masters tell me that this desire for spiritual union with the self within the body is actually encoded in the heart flames of both men and women. This driving force for spiritual reunion is most often been relegated to the biological and often physiological need to experience sexual union. To be touched physically and to create a new life is a part of the human experience. Though touch remains physically important for one's health and well-being, the deep inborn desire for spiritual union is exposing an even more profound need to internally reunite with the forces of creation. Some light workers are presently focusing their longings for a higher union onto the ancient art of Tantra. This is probably a step in the right direction, but will it really heal our deep desires for reunion with the true self? We have exploited ourselves sexually for so many eons. We have searched for romance in all the wrong places. We have gone down the mouse maze hundreds of times only to discover that there really is no cheese. Our rewards have been few and usually short-lived.
In my observance of hundreds of spiritual seekers, I have found that people who are trying to find God are really trying to find love. And they're often looking outside to find what is truly within. We are all searching for our true selves, capital S. When we can really just be who we are without edification, we may be able to more fully accept, see, and feel God as ourself and simultaneously as the absolute source of life everywhere. Americans are a particularly lonely group of people. Loneliness is not even known in some countries. In India, for example, there's so much interaction among the people that a certain kind of intimacy exists simply by nature of the circumstances. We, however, often live in caves of isolation. Americans are obsessed with romantic idealism. We concentrate so much energy on how we appear physically, usually unsatisfied with what we see in the mirror. We often waste our time in superficial activities. Always hoping that we'll attract that perfect mate who will totally love and understand our every need. So, beloveds, we're here right now to inspire, activate, and elevate love consciousness within you, right here, right now. This is the reason we're even coming on right now. This is why this work, our heart, our life is about conscious union. And it's talking about, in that organic bliss, ecstatic state that we look. In the West, Tantra has been distorted. Tantra is union with the divine. In sexual nature, it is an orgasmic, ecstatic, blissful experience.
One aspect, yeah.
As Kumala is saying here, that she experienced something so orgasmic, so such divine union with the all that is, that her whole cells and everything just lit from hearing music of the Divine Mother, and our sexual relationship with each other is a part of that. But there's a lot of work to do to clear out the distortions of the four lower bodies so that we can have actual clear divine union with our other.
You know what I love about this, just her telling this story, is she was at this place where she was feeling so empty, and she was feeling like love wasn't present. She was just feeling empty and didn't feel like she could go on. And here she walks into this room and allows this divine sound to open her heart to be poured into by the love of this primal energy. We do. It's a sexual energy, orgasmic energy. And how often in our relationships we are not allowing the presence of love to pour in, first of all, into ourselves, but then to each other. We block it out of fear. And I even, in all transparency, had a moment this morning where I was blocking, I was shutting down because I was projecting past hurt. And immediately just being able to witness my body, my whole being just shut down and block from experiencing what love wants to totally pour in. And so I love this story that it's the emptying and allowing.
Go ahead, love.
The wounds of our remaining and the limiting thoughts of our lower self are festering with some painful outcomes. War and disease are still in our world, and emotionally, we may not be any more advanced than some of our barbaric ancestors, perhaps less. All our technologies have not brought us any deeper or any closer to happiness, nor have they healed the soul's deeper need to love and be loved. As a race, I feel that we are lonelier than ever. One can make no distinction between God and the self when one is enlightened, because there is no lower mind or ego to create the experience of separation.
To be in God, we must realize all concepts that we have about God. I'm going to read that again. To be in God, we must release all concepts that we have about God. All belief systems are artifacts of the separate self that soon become unnecessary and cumbersome. The challenge is to continuously remain in such a state of nowness that the power of the self does not succumb to the magnetic pull of the lower consciousness. I live by a saying, I hold loosely to all concepts, beliefs, and structures. I hold loosely to all concepts, beliefs, and structures. What I believe about God, what I believe about Gnosticism, what I believe about the Ascended Master Realm, what I believe about myself, which is God, I allow it to continue to evolve and evolve and evolve, and hold loosely to past lives, to ideas, to what you are, to what I am, to what all this is, and just be still and listen and pay attention. Because this thing is changing and shifting. We do not, for the most part, know how to live from the joy of a free heart, because most of us have not yet awakened the seed of Christ consciousness that is within the heart, the flame of the heart. When we do that, it is a very momentous occasion. Emotions and even deep feelings that do not necessarily come from the heart. Mm-hmm. Most often, they're founded in survival, fear, pain, and need, all centered in the first 3 chakras. Mm. To find the true core of love, we must let go of everything that's not born of spirit. The heart's liberation depends on our surrendering the abusive memories of the past and the unrealistic expectations of the future. Living in the purity of the present is not as easy as it sounds.
Most of us have been so poorly impressed by the relationship models of our families and our society that we decided long ago that we could only be safe if we maintained a separate stance. In that, I just hear the 2 things that go together are sovereignty and surrender. You know, not fighting against something to have your own stance, but to surrender to what is and what's in front of you so that you can maintain your sovereignty. Many have been successful in sustaining that separateness, even within the context of their supposedly intimate relationships. Much fear of intimacy from not wanting to merge with another's pain or their mental or emotional discordancy. If you have not embodied your spirit deeply enough in the self to know who you really are, then you may actually be leaving yourself open to taking on other people's disharmony. Boundaries are important in the sense that one must always remain in integrity with the directiveness of the higher self. We can only merge perfectly when we are consciously willing to unite. This is not just a mental maneuver. I really got to see how much integrity the feeling body has during my Kundalini experience at the concert in Mount Shasta. To realize that discernment exists even when one is in rapture was a very revealing revelation.
So, boundaries are important. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a conversation that we continue to have. You know, there's only one of us, right? One love. Well, imagine a piece of music with just one note. That would be just obnoxious. It would just be this.
Especially that note.
It's not a pretty note. But in the beautiful orchestration of and creation of a Mozart who takes notes and crafts them to be in different places and resonance and how they flow in harmony, you know, there's crafting them with very specific places, and you know the idea of coherency, of resonance, of what your higher self is guiding you to. You know, where here was Kumala, she shares this amazing story, and she's just like, I have so much love and I want to hug, but who is able to receive this? Who will resonate with as much love as I have right now in my being? You know, and that requires discernment. And discernment and judgment discuss. What is the difference? Is there a difference? Is discernment judgment? When you're crafting your music piece, do you make a healthy judgment and go, this note feels good, this note doesn't feel good, this doesn't blend? You know, when you and I are working together at singing, and sometimes you're like, babe, you're a little flat, or you know, you got to refine, tweak, attune a little bit, just reshape that a little bit, make an adjustment, slight, but make an adjustment. So there's harmony. So it sounds beautiful. So it's inspiring, and not, that doesn't sound so good. You hate that time when you hear that music that doesn't sound so good. Kind of hurts your soul a little bit. Just a tiny little.
It can.
It's a little soul death.
It can.
That's a little dramatic, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you know, discernment and resonance and harmony and coherency These are very important, very spiritual principles. And
Resonance,
you know, understanding your resonant field and where you are giving and receiving your energy in your love is and only you know, as you get still and get quiet and pay attention and ask the higher self to speak for you concerning a relationship of any kind, of an organization of any kind. You know, where is that in the resonant field?
It's really true. I mean, this keeps going back to the simplicity of stillness and meditation. And that's why it spoke to me that she talked about this feeling, this amazing spirit feeling that came and descended into her, came from her emptiness. If we're not getting that space of emptiness, it's really hard to decipher what is your resonant field, and when somebody else is encroaching on us. And then we have all these entanglements that we're taking on other people's disharmony, which may be triggering our own or just a reflection of our own, but you'll never know that if we're not getting still.
Yeah. Just words of wisdom. Just know who you are in training with. Many Eastern teachers take on the ailments of their devotees. In the Christian world, it is often thought to be loving to take on the sorrows of the world. In 1987, I was visited on the inner planes by 4 ascended masters. Their visit clarified for me this question on taking on the pain of others. Their energies of their God presence impacted me at a cellular level. And she says here, they communicated to me that I must fully release myself from identifying with the sorrows of the world. I must begin to move out of what they termed sympathetic resonation with the mass consciousness of the earth. I was told that things were going to get so chaotic that to be an effective light worker, I must fully serve humanity by not identifying with its consciousness. I must therefore see life from an entirely new perspective of the eagle of the condor. I must be of the world and not in it. And yet, I was also shown the divinity of all life. They said that everyone was receiving the lessons they needed to take their next step. So do not look at the outer effects. It's all illusion. Sustain the perfection by honoring every human being in every path. In the fractalization of the oneness that we are, we each are coming home in our right and perfect time. No one gets left behind. Everyone comes home. But as an empath myself, I took on the weight of the world. I took on it so heavily that it would affect my own state, my own emotional state. And I would have trouble finding joy and ecstasy and bliss and happiness because I was feeling the collective consciousness. And so it drove me to Jesus, it drove me to meditation, it drove me to spirit, and continues to. But it's important for us not to take on what doesn't belong to us.
Yep, big time. I'm thinking of just the little child that's wanting to emerge. You know, we take on these things because somewhere our little child, and we took on our surroundings. And so we keep playing out our surroundings over and over again. And just, you know, that innocence, the returning to the innocence where we're not weighed down by all of it. Says we come here to serve as well as to experience and to master the laws of duality. Separation is not the truth within the higher states of being. We truly are all one. We individualize as a separate ego until we desire once again to return to the oneness with the all that is. Since we have already chosen to become a part of this divine experiment in the individuation of God, we must now fully incarnate as the divine before we can return to the absolute. I think of Jesus saying, or said of him, that he was fully God and fully man, fully embracing his manhood, his humanness. It is a great honor to be given the opportunity to master this assignment. Home is, after all, a state of unified God consciousness, and it can be experienced on any plane or any dimension of being. Your own realization of the self-love as love will assist you in maintaining the purity of your life force. The Christ flame in your heart has one burning desire, to be in conscious divine union at all times. Love is the only form of true communion and in all the many dimensions of being.
I'm going to read that last part again.
Yeah.
The Christ flame in your heart has one burning desire. Burning love. To be in conscious divine union at all times. Love is the only form of true communion in all the many dimensions of being.
Boom. That sums it up.
Conscious union.
Hallelujah.
Conscious union. Consciously being in union. It's not easy because it comes up all the stuff that's not love, where love is not having its way through you, from you. You know, this whole dance that we're doing in union that we are blessed to have is to, where is love not having its way?
Yeah.
And we continue to grow and grow and grow, and we are blessed. And we want to encourage you, join us for our May 1st, happens to be Beltane, you know, where the masculine and feminine come together in such auspicious ways. But we're going to begin this journey again, awakening love within. Love is the only form of true communion. You want to awaken more of that inside yourself? Would you like to have access to more of that within you? Love is the greatest force in the universe. It's the greatest power in the universe. Would you love to have access to more love in your life? Come take a journey with us. I guarantee you it will change the trajectory of your experience.
Truly.
And we're just going to give you some of the tools in our toolbox where we're able to access, and we have continuously access more love, more joy, more bliss, more ecstasy,
Truly.
more enlightenment, more light.
Yeah. And lightness.
And lightness and playfulness.
Play. Yeah.
That's the truth. Would you say that?
It's so the truth. In fact, it's gotten to a place where we're in a garden of play. Yeah, there aren't any words to describe it.
And it's a safe place, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a safe place with such pure love. That pure love is such light as it is. You know, we did this before we opened up, and it's important to envelop yourself in a pillar of white light. We are immersed in a pillar of white light transmitting to you right now. This is pure love. This is pure light. You know, to inspire, to activate, and elevate something within inside yourself. To remember, to realign, to reconnect to your God source, to your God presence that has never left you, never will forget you. It is the truth of your being. Nothing that you've done, nothing that you can do, nothing that's been done unto you can ever separate you from that truth.
I just want to encourage you to sit with that awareness, because I know that there are people on this moment with us here that have come from a background of where God is outside of ourselves, and where there's this constant searching, constant wondering, why am I not feeling these qualities of love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and all of these things that we've grown up knowing that what love is, or what love should be as an experience. And though we're praying more and we're asking for more help and still not finding it. And the whole message of Jesus, if you boiled it down to one word, would be love. And that love is knowing your union, your perfected union with the Father, Mother, God, that there never was any separation, and that's just a lie. And so, again, I want to read this again. The Christ flame in your heart has one burning desire, and this is true for all of us, no matter who you are, no matter what you've experienced in your life. It is to be conscious in conscious divine union conscious divine union, aware that you are united with God at all times. And love, pure love, is the only form of true communion in all the many dimensions of being. You know, love has a way of speaking to us when nothing else can. And no matter what kind of guilt or shame or pain you might be carrying, when love enters, it becomes, like you just said it, when we allow love, all the other stuff can come up in safety.
How did love serve you this morning?
How did love serve me this morning?
How did allowing more love, like, give them a practical way? You don't have to share all the details.
Right.
Because we can talk about theory and ideas, but what's really powerful is our examples. Just what happened where love, as you said this morning to me, I felt like we just went through another gateway.
Right.
What happened?
Well, this morning, something came up for me. There's this dynamic that we've had in our relationship of this trigger around our sexual history. And again, I know this is probably many of us here in this circle right now where we have either, been engaged in promiscuity, whether we've been engaged in lust and pornography, whether we've, as women, given away our bodies. Because of this dynamic that goes back, we feel adored and loved when we are getting attention for our bodies, because we don't know how to get it in our own experience with ourselves. We don't feel loved. We don't feel beautiful on our own. We don't feel like we are enough. And so we go outside of ourselves to try and get those temporary fixes of validation. And so this is a system that's kind of geared us up for constant misery as we do that. And I've totally been in that. And so this moment came up this morning, this beautiful moment, where it just allowed, I felt the pain of that. I felt the pain of that, not only for me in that moment, but the bigger me, all the pieces of me that have bought into that system of feeling not enough in my own. And so I'm not giving out of a place of wholeness. I'm giving out of a place of need. And just in this moment, Jason allowed me the space to tune into where it was coming from, why I was feeling that way, because this is pure love. And it just moments before, I had just said, I'm like, the places that we're experiencing true love growing is it's so miraculous in moments. And at the flip of a switch, the turn of a dime, I could go back into that place of fear and projection of my past upon a moment that was so divine, so pure. But because of this cellular memory, by letting something in that wasn't in the present moment, it became a place of pain, and I had tears come up, and cellular memory of not being enough, of giving my body away to, things that didn't appreciate the sanctity of me, not appreciating the sanctity of my own body temple.
Mm-hmm. And so I, on the other end, am holding that space.
Mm-hmm.
There was a space where I wanted to withdraw. What happens in the energy field is that when one is perceiving fear, when one is perceiving, and fear is a lack of, the energetics become, and I could feel it, and it's just like, okay, let's just come into center, not react, but respond with stillness, respond with grace, respond with allowance, not even to try to fix it or change it, but just be in a place of, these are the tools that we have. So this is conscious union. Being in these conscious union relationships are not easy. They take a lot of work and a lot of practice, but it is an ingrained muscle that we've continued to work, and in that space, of you doing your own inner reflections, going, look, it has nothing to do with you. I fully acknowledge that. I'm doing my own inner workings. And then in that space of allowance, you have an opportunity to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then there is this reintegration. Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And it did. I think what happened in that moment was being able to not only witness what I was feeling and the projection that I was making in the moment, but just seeing the patterns and the programs that we have running in us. And these are all programs. You know, we often forget that it's like we're doing our own self-reflection and our own work as if, you know, it's an island isolated unto itself. But really what we're doing right now is we are witnessing programs that have been running for centuries upon centuries. And these divisions between the masculine and feminine, because what comes up is when I feel triggered, it's the opposite side of something that Jason's experiencing or has experienced in his life as a masculine part of myself. And so it just, what happened was being able to be with it and not fight it or resist it or feel shameful for even just feeling that way. It opened up a bigger opportunity for us to see the program that's running for both of us and how it's pit us against each other and how my fear triggers, you know, his own side of the equation. And it's be allowing, be accepting. When something comes up, accept it and ask it to tell you what it is it wants you to know and understand about yourself better. Because when you understand what's going on in your heart and your pain body, you know now how to receive and allow more love light to come in and heal.
And I just want to congratulate us because we are healing. Mm-hmm. We are calling forth the healing at levels that have not been. Mm-hmm. You know, yesterday we went to go see a movie called The Promise, an amazing movie. And it's about the Armenian genocide. Mm-hmm. A really sad moment. We walked away. There's a large Armenian audience that was there.
We were probably the only non-Armenian people there, I bet.
Right. But it's a story, it's a love story of two men for one woman. It's a story of nations against nations. And there's so much warring going on. But in the middle of this nation versus nation, this atrocity of something that the Turkish government has still not really accepted and said, you know, yes, we killed millions of people.
Right.
Because we believe they were pigs and dogs and they need to be wiped off the face of the earth. This is an old story. It's been done and done and done and done. But in that, there was this amazing jewel of relationship where in the antiquity of time, we've had the males fighting over the woman, you know, or the women vying and manipulating and fighting over the affection of a man. But in this relationship, there were these two men, Mikael and Chris, played by Christian. Mikael, Christian energy right here, right? And they were fighting over Anna, you know, this beautiful Magdalene, you know? And they weren't fighting, they were having this love triangle. And it was powerful how it all came into one. And so we're healing these ancient wounds. And the war is ending, and it's ending here. We come into wholeness right here. Conscious union right here. So, this is just a little reading today of Conscious Union with one love and gratitude.
Love you guys.
We're going to get ready and go out to Global Truth Center and go have a great meeting with a couple who's getting married on 11/11. And you have a great, wonderful rest of your day.
Love you.
Bye.